let's share. Put up on mine. All right, so we are going to finish the review guide. Yeah, the test is tomorrow. So let me get it on my screen as well. Duplicate. Okay, so I think we finished with number 5 in the verbals portion on the back of the page. You good?
Yeah, we're on that.
All right, so we need to explain what kind of verbal we have and then how it's being used in the sentence. So Cody likes to swim every morning before school. Wow, that was interesting. We'll underline. So what's to swim? What kind of verbal is this? Yep, it's an infinitive. And how is it being used in the sentence? So what? Right, which means it's what? A noun. We don't have to worry about the part of speech, but yeah, when it's a noun, you do have to sort of be able to figure out how it's being used in the sentence. Also, if you still kind of struggle with those, how the nouns are being used, the 8 different types of nouns, you can look at the question and answers, because like Ava has said, it's receiving the action of being liked. So Cody likes what? To swim every morning before school. That's your whole phrase. To swim is the infinitive, but it's acting as the direct object because it was receiving the action of being liked, and it's answering the question what. And remember, nouns and pronouns, those are your whats. So if it answers what, it's a noun, period. So that, in that case, that's what we got. Okay, awesome. The Hobbit is a book written by J.R.R. Tolkien. So written, what kind of verbal is this? Right, because there is only one kind, okay, of verbal that ends in an en. It's participle. So if you can recognize the way it looks, you don't even have to worry about whether it's a participle or gerund or how it's being used in the sentence, because participles are always what? Yes, adjectives. All right, read the Bible to know God's commandments. So to know, figuring out what kind these are is the easy part. What is this? Right, we got an infinitive phrase. And how is it being used in the sentence? How do we know it's an adverb? Is answering why. Why do we read the Bible? To know God's commandments. So it is an adverb. There's just no fixing my ability to get these straight. Okay. So yeah, very good. 9, you must study continuously to be the top student in your class. Again, this one is an infinitive. And how is it being used in the sentence? You must study continuously. Why? To be the top student in your class. So we have another adverb. And the last one, the first attempt to build the Panama Canal ended in failure. So this was an infinitive. What's it doing in this sentence? Can I figure it out? What's our main verb here? Ended. What ended? The attempt ended in failure. So what kind of question is to build the Panama Canal answering? Which one? Which attempt? The one to build the Panama Canal. So what answers which one? Adjective. You'll see that? Those can sometimes be harder to find. All right. But answering, looking at those questions and figuring out what the answer should help. All All right, so we're back to clear and logical construction. In the clear and logical construction, typically you are missing words. So this is kind of the difference between clear and logical construction and conciseness. Conciseness, you're taking away words or parts of phrases or clauses. Clear and logical construction, you're adding more, usually just a word, maybe a couple, in order to make it a little bit more clear what the sentence is actually saying. So for number 11, Mark can run as fast, if not faster than anyone else on the team. So what words are we missing here? As, and where does it go? Right, you've got to have as fast as, if not faster than anyone else on the team. Unfortunately, on the test, you're not going to have clear and logical construction and conciseness stuck in one assignment, one activity. One, you have clear and logical construction. The other one, you have conciseness. So one section, you're going to be adding words. In the other, you're going to be marking through and taking away. So that may help, because I know on the quiz, you were sometimes adding words to a clear and logical, or taking away phrases and words from clear and logical construction, or trying to add them to conciseness. So we don't want to do that. All right, 2, the fire consumed the main house and shed. We need, yes, this is the article issue. We need to add an article here, because the way it's originally written, you're saying that the main house and the shed are the same building. By adding that article, you were differentiating that the fire destroyed 2 buildings here. It destroyed the main house and it destroyed the shed. That's why we need that article for clarification. All right, for number 3, do not pretend nothing is wrong. Right, we're missing I guess this would be a conjunction, subordinating conjunction. Do not pretend, whoa, that was different. Do not pretend that nothing is wrong. Yeah, we need that specified. Okay, she is one of the kindest people I know, if not the most. If not the most, what? Kind. This is where we're missing the verb. We need to have it in both parts of this sentence. I have not and probably never will ski in the Alps. Actually, that was an adjective. Now we're missing a verb. Sorry, kind is, we're missing an adjective. This one, I have probably not what?
I have not skied in the Alps, and I probably never will.
I have not skied. You could just add it here. Maybe S-K-I-E-D. Why does that look weird? There we go. I have not skied and probably never will ski in the Alps.
It's 2 I's.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just 3 capital letters.
Okay. But it's not giving me a spelling error. Or it doesn't there either. Maybe I disabled it. I don't know. S-K-I. It is an ing, but let me tell you. It's IED. But that's, yeah, that's skied. Lord have mercy, that looks weird. Oh, no, it's not. It's skied. Yep, it has one.
That looks even worse.
You know what, now it looks worse no matter what at this point. We're just gonna roll with it. Okay, yeah. And of course I can't scroll down anymore. All right, let's go ahead and look at conciseness. So with conciseness, we're taking away words. We're taking clauses, turn them into phrases or appositives. We're taking, that's most of what we do. But we may take out just extra parts. Yeah, taking away clauses and making them phrases or appositives or just regular parts of the sentence. So Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was the president during the Great Depression, holds the record for winning 4 presidential elections. So what do we need to take out here? Yeah. So we would take out the who was. We don't need that. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president during the Great Depression, holds the record for winning 4 presidential elections. All right, 2, when we were on Christmas holiday, we went to New York City. Yeah, turn it into a prepositional phrase. Thank you. That's perfect. Take out the when we were. On Christmas holiday, we went to New York City. It's just redundant. You don't need all of that extra. When I was walking on the icy sidewalk, I slipped and broke my arm. There we go. We turn it into a participle. Yeah, get rid of the when I was. Walking on the icy sidewalk, I slipped and broke my arm. All right, George Washington, who was the first president of the United States, was honored by Britain when he died. Take it out, yes. Are these getting a little bit more obvious now? Yeah, you'll seem to have a pretty clear idea of what we're doing. When she was hiking in the woods, she saw a herd of deer. What am I taking out? When?
No, you would take out when she was.
There we go. Take out the whole verb, subject, as well as the subordinating conjunction. Hiking in the woods, she saw a herd of deer. Yeah. All right, so that takes care of the review. So we'll take the test tomorrow. I will tell you, if you're still struggling with the whole clear and logical construction bit, section 21.1D is what this first one is covering. 21.1B is the adding articles. 21.1C. So again, that might guide you, since you can use your books and review guides in here, on the test. 21.1D again, and 21.1A for that last one, adding the verbs. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and switch my share and let's talk about the writing assignment. All right, so for the writing assignment, you, I'd asked you guys to sort of list a chronological description of the alligator fight at the very beginning of this narrative. So what happens?
Well, there's like 2 alligators, they start fighting.
Okay,
Really violent and brutal,
okay,
like astonished by it. 2 giant beasts.
all right, so we have, where are they when they're fighting?
Like the marsh.
Everybody agree?
Like he's on his way to like a lagoon. So it's like a flooded type jungle bed.
Yep. So when it starts, and he is on, he's on the shore of a lagoon, listening to the birds, calls them laughing coots, which are dark gray aquatic birds. A lot of flowering plants. The fish are kind of hiding in the water. And so there are trout, and then the trout are watching the alligator. So in the second column of the first part of the story, page 127, it says, "Behold him, the alligator, rushing forth from the flags and reeds. His enormous body swells. His plaited tail, brandished high, floats upon the lake. The waters, like a cataract, descend from his opening jaws. Clouds of smoke issue from his dilated nostrils. The earth trembles with his thunder." All right, so where is this alligator? Have y'all seen videos of alligators? Right? They come, yeah, he's pushed himself off the shore and is gliding through the water. So the first alligator is floating on the surface of the water. Where does the second alligator come from?
Comes up from under the water.
Right, so what does it say here? When immediately from the opposite coast of the lagoon emerges from the deep his rival champion. So the second,
Were you riding like this? How you were riding it?
yeah. So first alligator's floating on, and second alligator comes from the opposite side.
This one, can you explain to David?
Well, for the assignment last night was to write it like
Yeah, but
this.
not the actual sun.
You're writing your steps. Then when you go to actually do the first draft, or in half y'all's case, your final draft, you're going to put it in paragraph form. But right now we're just getting the information. So he comes from the opposite side of the lagoon, emerging from under the water and heads toward the first gator. Try to keep this a little bit concise. Okay, so then what happens? Okay, so it says they suddenly dart upon each other. Phew. So they attack each other and begin to fight. Okay, so then what do they do at the beginning of the fight? So whatever, the boiling surface of the lake marks their rapid course and a terrific conflict commences. Then what do? Right, so they sink to the bottom, folded together in horrid wreaths. So they try to, we can use death roll, that's what we call it now. They try to death roll each other, wrapped up like snakes. I just kind of think of it that way, wrapped up like snakes, and fall to the bottom of the lagoon. So they head down, because the point, and that's in the definition. So death roll is really the perfect, vivid noun for this, because yeah, it's a noun. It's a very action noun, but yeah. So because death roll indicates that they are wrapped together, and that whenever an alligator death rolls, they go straight, they sink straight to the bottom with their prey. In this case, with their opponent, and that's part of the definition of a death roll. So we would say they death roll each other wrapped up. They fall, they sink to the bottom, and then what happens? So let's see, they sink to the bottom. The water becomes thick and discolored. Like you said, it's full of blood and mud that's been stirred up. Again, they rise. So boom, they come right back up. Their jaws clap together, re-echoing through the deep surrounding forests. Again, they sink. So they try to death roll, wrap up, like fall to the bottom of the lagoon. And then they, what would be a good synonym for like they come out of the water? Because they like explode maybe.
Emerge.
But they're like not slowly emerging. They're like boom, right? I would say maybe explode. That's a good verb. Explode back to the surface. No, you just, pick your own words. Explode back to the first, snapping their jaws in an attempt to bite each other, right? Yeah. Rapidly ascend. All right. And then they sink back down. And then lastly, what happens when the fight's over? So again, they sink when the contest ends at the muddy bottom of the lake, and the vanquished makes a hazardous escape, hiding himself in the muddy, turbulent waters and sedge on a distant shore. The proud victor, exulting, returns to the place of action. The shores and forests resound his dreadful roar, together with the triumphing shouts of the plated tribes around, witnesses of the horrid combat. All right, so they sink back down, and then the loser hides in the, we don't know which one.
I think it was the second one.
I mean, it indicates it, right? Because the victor returned. Well, no, they were both at the place of action at the beginning, so we're
No,
not
the
sure.
first alligator there, the other one came towards.
But we're not sure. At this point, when they both impacted, that's their place of action. But we can say first, but it doesn't specify.
I think that.
So the loser hides in the muddy water and retreats. The winner floats back on the top, the surface, and roars his victory. All right. So there's our what happened. Again, you can keep it concise, but this one you're really focusing more on being clear, concise, and chronological. Tell me what happened. You don't have to be super creative or worry too much about your vivid nouns and verbs, but that helps in the conciseness. You're using less words when you use better and more specific meaning words. All right, now 2 is where you really do need to be more aware of the nouns and verbs that you use when you're describing his emotional state. So don't tell me he was scared, he was worried, he was this, he was that. Those are being verbs that you're telling me an adjective. Instead, he worried, he,
Frightened to the bone.
right. So again, be careful with the was. Try not to use the to be verbs. He is, he was. Yeah. So this one, let's see. All right, so how did he feel after watching the alligator fight? So again, this one, you're gonna make 2 lists. So you're gonna make something about like what the alligators did, his emotional state because of it. All right, so what's the first thing? Alligators
They fought.
fought. How did this make him feel? What do you say?
Astonished.
My apprehensions were highly alarmed after being a spectator of so dreadful a battle. So what is apprehension?
Trying to grasp it.
So I'm gonna Google this. APPREHENSO. Apprehension definition. Synonyms. SYNON. Oh, there we go. Okay, so some synonyms of apprehension are anxiety, angst, alarm, worry, uneasiness, nervousness, misgiving, disquiet. So what would be a really good, based on the way he's talking about this one, what would be a good synonym to think of? He felt alarmed, angst, ish. I would definitely go with. So bewildered indicates confusion. He is not confused. He knows exactly what's going on here. And that thank goodness he wasn't anywhere near these crocodiles or he would be a dead man. So I would go with anxiety, alarm. I think even nervousness or uneasiness are a little too passive. Restlessness, concern, too passive. He is anxious, alarmed. All right, so his emotional state is, I would go with something like anxious, alarmed, maybe angst, maybe. But he is definitely worried, right? He's worried that the longer he's there, the more likely the chances that he's going to get killed. He's like, these guys are stressed. All right, so what happened next? So it was obvious that every delay would be but tend to increase my danger and difficulty as the sun was nearing setting, and the alligators gathered around my harbor from all quarters. They were everywhere. So he concluded expeditious. So he concluded to be very quick about going out in the water in his boat and fishing. He's got to go get some food. He decides not to take his gun because he feels like he has too much danger of losing it overboard in the water, which will completely destroy it. So he keeps that behind and he takes a club. So he goes out onto the water. So what happens while he's out on the water? You're right. So what the alligators, why is that bold? Alligators. So that what did they do? They like bumped and yeah, they were rocking it, bumping it, trying to knock it over. Not only that, but they rushed up with their heads and parts of their bodies above the water, roaring terribly and belching floods of water. Oh, that's disgusting. Over me. They struck their jaws together so close to my ears as to almost stun me. I expected every moment to be dragged out of the boat and instantly devoured. So not only were they trying to knock the boat over, it was almost like they were trying to get in the boat. So the alligators, jumped and bumped near his boat. All right. And what was his emotional state here? Terrified. Like, are we scared? We're like, I'm gonna die any second. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Right? So maybe we're feeling some regret, although we don't want to give him feelings. We want to just kind of talk about what he had. So he takes the club, but he beats them up. He's at least got enough going on in his head that he's able to beat them off with the club that he's brought with him. Whereas before I round it on, there's a probability of push less save myself jumping out of the canoe. So he's already making plans on how to get himself out of this situation. So yeah, I would say he is terrified. But I would say cool-headed enough to plan an escape, right? Because he already is planning to like, okay, so I can get the canoe close to the get his canoe close to the shore, so he only has to worry about him on one side of the boat. And he has an idea. So how does he feel once he moves his himself closer to the shore? All right. So, because what did the alligators do when he got close to shore? It says I found this last expedient alone could fully answer my expectations. For as soon as I gained the shore, they drew off and kept aloof. So the alligators left him alone when he went near shore. He felt, I would say, maybe hope that he's going to survive, relief that he can fish in peace. Just for the most part, they're there, but I don't know about y'all, but if I even see an alligator, much less multiple ones, and they're fighting and they're bumping me, would not be nearly as chill as this guy is. Like, he is extremely chill to be able to keep his head while they're literally snapping by his head. But whatever. All right. Then what happens next? He goes fishing. He gets back to camp. What happens?
He takes a nap or something, and then there's like an alligator right at his feet.
Kind of. He didn't go to sleep though. Hold on. Make good my entrance. He caught more trout than he needed, so he takes it all back. Keeps close to the shore. There is there's an old daring one about 12 feet in length who kept close after me, and when I stepped on shore and turned about in order to draw up my canoe, he rushed up near my feet and lay there for some time, looking me in the face, his head and shoulders out of the water. So I resolved he should pay for his temerity, and having a heavy load in my fuse, so his gun was fully loaded. So he runs to camp, runs back and shoots the alligator in the head for trying to scare him. But there's no mention of his emotions during this whole thing. I would be, and then I fainted and they ate me and I died. But this guy, he's like, how dare you? And he, goes and gets it. So he doesn't really say anything there. Okay, so it's the fish. He took the fish out of the boat, laid them down on the sand, and began to clean the fish. He scaled them. And then he just so happened to raise his head. And what did he see? The head and shoulders of a very large alligator moving slowly toward me. I instantly stepped back when, with a sweep of his tail, he brushed off several of my fish, the one he was just cleaning. It was certainly most providential that I looked up at that instant, as the monster would probably, in less than a minute, have seized and dragged me into the river. This incredible boldness of the animal disturbed me greatly. Supposing there could now be no reasonable safety for me during the night, but by keeping continuously on the watch. I therefore, as soon as I had prepared the fish, proceeded to secure myself and my effects in the best manner I could. So he's like, I'm not going to be safe here. The minute I lay down to sleep, these alligators are going to get near me and they're going to kill me. So I need to get my things and try to find somewhere else. So let's talk about this though. What did the alligator do? Right. So I would say, so moving, how would we say a very large alligator moving slowly toward me? Maybe sneaking, skulking. Oh, that's a good one. Stalking, maybe. That implies malice. So sneaking alligator sneaked up on him from the water. Remember, it's as he's cleaning fish. You may want to add that detail. Do we want to look for a good set? You could write, he was disturbed. He was greatly disturbed. Bewildered. Was he confused?
No. What
Then
is the word flabbergasted?
Flabbergasted means unbelievably surprised. So let's look at disturbed. Let's see, greatly. I am on Google. Greatly disturbed synonym. We'll go to thesaurus. 16 synonyms and antonyms. So synonyms for disturbed is confused, disrupted, upset. I think those are a lot closer though. I would not say that he's confused. I would say he is exceedingly concerned. But we can try. Agitated. Oh, that's a good one. Disquieted, flustered, perturbed, and upset. I would say this is not like you're disturbing, a flock of birds on the road. Like, how crows like to sit in the middle of the road eating roadkill and you disturb them by driving through. This is definitely more under the concerned, disquieted, or flustered category. All right, then what happened? We got a few more. So he goes looking for a new campsite, and what does he find? Huh? What'd you say? What did he find when he goes? So he goes up. Did y'all read this? I really am not entirely sure.
I literally have a summary of it.
Okay, then what happened?
When you went to the campsite, I don't remember. I don't remember him going to a campsite.
No, he had already made the campsite. This whole time he's at his campsite, except for when he went into the water. Blah, blah, blah. So he hauls his boat up almost clear out of the water so they don't mess with it. He grabs everything that's movable. He takes out, puts in the camp, and then starts a fire. And then he charges his gun. So he loads his gun and proceeds to reconnoiter or go inspect and explore the adjacent grounds. He discovered that the peninsula and grove, at a distance of about 200 yards from my camp, was invested by a cypress swamp covered with water. So he's surrounded, he's on a peninsula, but it's either the lake or the swamp. And he realizes that, so I was confined to an island exceedingly circumscribed, and I found there was no other retreat for me in case of an attack, but by either ascending one of the trees, the large oaks, or pushing off with his boat and leaving the area entirely. He was entirely surrounded by alligators. So the alligators had entirely surrounded his camp. They're still kind of in the water in the swamp. But he's when he goes to try and move his campsite, he finds that there is no escape. So I would say, I don't know, terrified, horrified. So yeah, so it was by this time dusk, and the alligators had nearly ceased their roar when I was again alarmed by the tumultuous noise that seemed to be in my harbor, and therefore got his full attention. So he goes back to the harbor, the little lagoon. He found it undisturbed in the camp, and then saw a scene that he could not imagine even how to describe. So, what was this unusual scene at the end of the narrative? A lot of fish. I would say hundreds of thousands of fish. Yeah, if I can spell fish, I can't do it. There we go. Hundreds of thousands of fish are packed tightly in a narrow part of the river as they are trying to get into the lake.
That's a lot of fish.
Like, I can't even picture hundreds of thousands. I mean, even if you think about like when salmon migrate, you're still only seeing like dozens at a time. But in this case, he said, he can't even explain it. So he says the river in this place from shore to shore and nearly half a mile both above and below. So for almost a mile, as far as he can see, shore to shore, appeared to be one solid bank of fish of various kinds, trying to push through this narrow pass of St. John's River into this little lake or lagoon that he's staying at as they head down the river. Now, what else does he see? The alligators. How many alligators? I would say uncountable alligators. So many, he could easily, LD, walk from shore to shore without, on them, I'll put that, without getting his feet wet. So he says, the alligators were in such incredible numbers and so close together from shore to shore that it would have been easy to have walked across on their heads had the animals been harmless. So then what happens? The alligators are pretty much sitting there with their mouths wide open, like, come on, guys, just fall right in. But not just that. He says thousands, I may say hundreds of thousands of these fish. He calls it an army of fish. So the fish in the back are forcing the fish forward. So they're all going through, and these alligators are just lined up shore to shore, ready to eat some fish. I have seen an alligator take up out of the water several great fish at a time and just squeeze them betwixt his jaws, while the tails of the great trout flapped about his eyes and lips ere he had swallowed them. Is it all right? Is it all right time to go?
No.
Okay. No. Ah, yeah, I would. I love that one, geometry. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
recording. So
Oh,
no, it's okay. Just so you know, you might end up on a YouTube video. All right. So unaccounted, there's tons, he sees tons of alligators. As the fish, are forced through the pass, the alligators, take them by the mouthful and crunch. What does it say? Squeeze and crunch them. Ugh. The horrid noise of their closing jaws, their plunging amidst the broken banks of fish and rising with their prey some feet above the water. The floods of water and blood rushing out of their mouths and the clouds of vapor issuing from their wide nostrils were truly frightful. This scene continued at intervals during the night as the fish came to the pass. So that's all, that's what you're describing here. And I would summarize it by saying, knowing that the fact that all of these alligators are here for fish means that they are not going to be even remotely interested in him, makes him go back to the camp and go to sleep. He's like, I'm good. These guys are going to be stuffed. So then he's like, okay, like then all of a sudden he's not worried. So that may be another emotion to talk about. So when you could put it the answer to number 2, when he realizes that why the alligators are here, he feels relieved. But and but be a little bit more specific. Yeah, and they're going to be too stated to even be interested in him or his puny little fish. So yeah, that's what it says. After this sight, shocking and tremendous as it was, I found myself somewhat easier and more reconciled to my situation, being convinced that their extraordinary assemblage, so this extraordinary number of this assembly of alligators, was owing to the annual feast of fish, and that they were so well fed that I had little occasion to fear their paying me a visit. Eat them. They dive and emerge over and over with multiple fish each time. And then this happens all through the night. And that is the strange and unusual and fascinating thing that happens at the very end. All right, so the key for this, and something we'll talk about a little bit tomorrow. Am I plugged in? I am plugged in. So what we'll talk about tomorrow is the topic, sentence, and summarizing sentence of each paragraph. So make sure that you've got those and that you're getting it. Remember, this must be in paragraph form. This is the information. You need to write it in a neat and organized way. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video because that's pretty much it today. And we're good to go.